I
think
going to
we
ask if you.
only have 5 council members.
Okay.
We need 7.
Okay. Well, then I won't ask if we can approve any meeting minutes because we can't do that.
I'm thinking we're getting to the point that we might want to get an approval by email. What do the rest of you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will do that immediately after this meeting today then. And was it Mark who was going to be the vice chair?
I think so.
Okay. All right. And I will get a vote on that because I was looking through the meeting minutes and realized I had forgotten to do that. So I'll get that done today too.
And Ryan, we also need to get approval for Marcia taking over the academic seat on the council.
Okay. Can do that. I'll write that on my version of the minutes down here at the bottom. Vote for vice chair. Mark's the only candidate. Okay.
And Ryan, I'll be making a notation to the July minutes regarding the council member vote.
Okay.
It wasn't, Dia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't discussed during the meeting, but there was email correspondence between myself and the chair.
Okay.
So I just need to notate that in the minutes.
Okay. Is that the previous chair or was that the me chair?
The previous chair.
Okay. All right. So we need to vote for the vice chair and vote for Marcia Richmond and vote for the July and September meeting minutes.
And Marcia would only be the academic libraries that would vote on that.
Oh, right. Sorry. Chair, not vice chair. Sorry, representative. Okay. Well, I guess since we can't vote on anything today, do we want to go ahead and do whatever committee reports we have to do? Starting with the cataloging committee.
I think we should, if there's things that need to be done, then we'll have to, of course, go to the electronic vote, but I'd rather know what we want to move that direction. Otherwise, we sit in limbo without.
Yeah, but we can't vote on moving to an electronic vote without a quorum either. So. I assume
we can't go to an electronic vote without a quorum approving. We go to an electronic vote.
No, that's.
I don't think we can formally full time do that, could we?
Oh, not formally full time. I think we've just been doing it as an on-needed basis.
Yeah. So.
It went down again 3. Yeah, I did.
And
I'm just jumping over to the web version.
I mean, what do we want to do about getting people to show up to these meetings? Because it sounds like the only person we heard from who might otherwise have been here but couldn't was Deneen, right? So how many people are not showing up that should be showing up who we didn't even hear from? I'm curious.
There are 13 people on the council.
And we have 5, and we might have had 6. So that is no bueno. Oh, well, now we have 6.
Not formally.
Tentatively. That's true, not formally. So, that would be a lot of people to replace if we wanted to say, if you can't show up, you can't be on the board.
Do we need to? I don't know who these people are, to be honest with you. At some point, it either needs to be an institutional commitment or I don't know.
Well, usually Kathy and Aaron are here.
Yeah.
Yes, they typically are. I don't know whether this being Thanksgiving week is an issue for folks. I think if we don't get good attendance for the next meeting, we're going to have to reevaluate. We did do a poll for the optimal time.
Yeah.
I think
This
we've
was-
got a good roster. Mary, Finney, Aaron, Kathy, Deneen. Cecily has a good attendance history.
Just a bad couple months then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we won't have a meeting in December because it's every 2 months, right? So the next one will be January,
Yes, that's correct.
which is
15th.
it would be the 15th, yeah. So that's a ways off. And I'll remind people a little more vigorously and a little earlier. Yeah, I did the same thing and I sent out that mass email to everybody, so it happens. I'm talking to Anne, by the way. I'm not crazy.
I think if agenda is published with some action items, a little more detail that gets people's interest in attending, that might help.
Probably.
That's a good idea, Perry.
So maybe at the end of December, I'll send something out and get some stuff and then send out the actual agenda and reminder a little bit earlier too. So anyway, in the meantime, shall we move on to the committee reports for the time being?
Yeah, only the cataloging committee met since the last meeting.
Okay.
Dia, do you feel comfortable sharing what the cataloging committee meeting was about? Were you there?
I'm trying to remember.
I'm drawing a blank.
I've been in Oregon for 3 weeks, so I'm just kind of getting my bearings back and hit here and there. I was there. We had to reschedule. We do have a new committee chair. I'm trying to
Yes.
remember what else was going on. I don't remember much else.
I think we just gave an update on where we were with the different projects that the mentors have been working on.
That sounds about right.
The-
And I can report that the new cataloging committee chair is John Brockman from Baker County Library District.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Yeah, we're happy.
Excuse me, this is Rich Weinschneider phoning in. I tried to download the thing and I couldn't. So it's Rich Weinschneider from the Josephi Library in Joseph.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
Welcome.
Glad to have you, Rich.
Thank you.
All right. And so nobody else met?
Nobody else met. The other thing for the cataloging committee is we did have a training on how to catalog book with CD records. That was well attended and well received.
Cool.
I saw that. I think I read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm recording again.
There's none of those. I did have somebody who had questions about. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Perry, do we want the budget committee to start meeting?
Yes.
Are we thinking?
Well, no, it's early because our budget cycle, is the fiscal year.
Correct. We tried to usually have the budget approved by SAGE in March, so that the other libraries had an idea of what they're looking at membership fee wise for their budgets.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
typically we
And-
tried to have an idea in January.
Okay, and we are going to have to make some adjustments to the rates because we have to make up some funds that were lost from that new tier that was created. A couple of the libraries had lost population, and we didn't realize that when the new tier was created, so they dropped down significantly in their contributions. So yeah, I'll call a budget meeting.
Okay, thanks, Perry.
Yeah. I think the only other thing we have to talk about today at this point is that Anne mentioned that people might have comments and or questions about the new Evergreen. So if anybody has any comments or questions they'd like to make.
Well, everybody's so quiet. This is Rich, the only person, non-librarian, trying to be a librarian here. I've got a volunteer cataloger who does, I think she's doing great. But what happens when we, I had 4 years ago, had a student intern from Whitman do some cataloging. And I don't know when things were cataloged, but we've got a book with, we've got a couple cases where we've got a book with 2 catalog numbers. What do you just go to WorldCat and straighten it out there?
I guess I would need more specifics, Rich. I've been trying to help out as you guys have questions.
Right, I know, yeah.
And
okay.
And even do some cataloging for you. So, because I know you've got just a volunteer. So, yeah, we can continue helping you when you have different situations.
We just happened to find one yesterday that had 3 different numbers on it in 3 different places. But holy crap, what are we doing here? So, and then you go online, and it happened to be a book that isn't cataloged in any in LC on any. It's a book that some of the libraries have, Dewey libraries have, but none of the libraries, the LC libraries have. So we'll figure it out. We'll get it to you.
Okay, that sounds good. And even if we have a Dewey number, we can make an LC number out of it.
We can convert. Okay.
Yeah.
And while everybody else is saving up their questions, let me ask one. As Beth knows, I take responsibility for the programming in the library, and we've done a lot of it. In fact, I just finished a class in Nez Perce History and Culture for agency people. We had 50 Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, whatever people, and a 5-week class that we did along with the Land Trust. And we've got, if anybody'd like to see it, I've also built a Nez Perce teaching box of books and photos and maps for middle schoolers. And I could send the contents of that box. It's being used in a couple of schools here with 5th and 6th graders, was used once in junior high. And I've actually got some interest at the Nez Perce Reservation in Nespelum. I've got people looking at it there to maybe use in their, Washington schools require teaching Indian history now. I don't know where we are in that. But if anybody wants the contents of that. Anyway, so I've got all this stuff going on, the programming stuff, which is kind of my bailiwick. And Linda, bless her soul, has been doing all the cataloging as a volunteer. I'm thinking, we've been going for 7 years now, that I'm going to put in a grant, a state library grant, and asking for personnel for help. Does that make sense to people? Am I at the stage where I can do that? The LSTA grants?
You can ask for help for a project, especially successful if it's going to be shared out to the state once it's done. So that would be a good idea. So
I wouldn't concentrate on just fixing what we have here by getting a half-time person to actually to be paid to do cataloging and to be paid to do some normal library duties. That's not, LSTA wants more project-oriented. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be long-term.
Okay. Well, if there's any interest out there, and maybe I should just send that or send it to Beth or to you or something, that just the table of contents of that teaching box, and then if you had it in your libraries and you could share it with some middle school teachers and see what they thought of it, either we could share this one around, or we could it wouldn't take much money. I think I got money from the AAUW or something, and a couple $100, and it's got classroom quantities of Thunder Rolling Down the Mountain, and then got research quantities, just of other books on Nez Perce. Anyway, that's something that's part of mine. And another thing, I'm spilling here. Somebody interrupt me as soon as you. But just in terms of long-term here, what I'm finding, I think that the whole notion of research gets very few libraries get used for research by academicians or professionals who are writing a paper or doing a documentary movie. They get used in the colleges, of course, they get used by students writing papers. But the research here at this library is more likely to be the sisters coming out to find out about their grandmother who climbed Eagle Cap with the Mazamas in 1919, or the people coming from California to trace their Reinhardt ancestors who met Chief Joseph, and do we have any records of that? That's the kind of research I get, is personal research, rather than, there's a few cases where I get somebody working who thinks they want to write the great American novel, but mostly it's very personal kind of research. Is that the case with other libraries too, or am I an outlier?
This is Perry from Baker. No, that's the case. Usually people who are more serious researchers, we refer to a more serious collection, like a university collection.
Mm-hmm.
But our collection is less and less for research and more for recreation reading, popular reading.
Well, by its very nature, since we're the kind of the home of the Nez Perce here, so I do have some material that anybody who's doing serious research about Nez Perce or early Northeast Oregon history, I've got stuff here. Not just books, but I've got some papers, and some of it, State Library or the State Historical Society has now digitized some of this stuff, but not all of it is digitized. I'm gonna write a little thing for my board on research. If anybody has anything out there which is a broader look at kind of a broader definition of research that includes students, families, avocational people, as well as academics, I'd love to see it.
For this Evergreen 3.1 upgrade, I've still got them some things to change back on the web. I'm sure you've noticed that our icons are not displaying our customized icons. There's also some customizations we did for things like displaying the summary, displaying the series up near the summary. So I'm going to be looking at the web and looking for differences and reestablishing our customizations. Anne was mentioning that the client is slower. Has anybody else noticed that as well?
Not with the on the PC staff client. Rose played with the web client a little bit this morning and said it was really slow, but since we were having server brain farts, I suspect it might have just been that.
The reports that I've had is that the web client is much faster than the desktop staff client.
Yeah. Honestly, other than a few...
Go ahead.
I stopped because I thought somebody else was talking. Other than a few differences that were mostly positive, the desktop client doesn't really seem any different to me. It has the same feel and look and everything. There were a few things actually that I liked that were better about it. But, like when you place a hold, after you place the hold, you get that page where it tells you your hold was placed successfully. And that search bar across the top always reverts back to your home library. In the new version, it doesn't, so you can just search again right there.
Okay.
That's nice. Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it at all yet. So.
My expectation is that as soon as staff are comfortable at each of the libraries, we'll move over to the web client, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And by moving over to the web client, we have some setup to do for receipt printing and those kinds of things. But the additional functionality will be worth it in the long run.
Yeah. Marcia wanted to know about quick reports.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that, Marcia. We shouldn't have any issue with reestablishing quick reports. It wasn't until a day or so ago that I realized, because I don't use quick reports on a daily basis, I didn't realize that there was an issue. So I will look at that. I know one of the things with the reports in the web client is that the existing reports will run fine, but if you want to clone or create a new report, the architecture is different, and so you have to redo the report, I guess is what I'm saying. Running them is fine, but if you want to make any changes to them, you have to start from scratch. I know that Equinox did give us new reports in that area, so I'm going to take a look at those. We've been needing to do an overhaul on the report templates anyway. Consolidating and I think creating more folders so that it's easier to find things. So that's been on our project list for a while, and it's good timing to take care of that.
Cool.
Have there been any other issues that you guys haven't reported but are annoying?
I noticed
I was just going to say, not that I've heard from staff.
Okay.
I did hear catalogers playing with the web client, saying it was frustrating to have to tab to each field instead of being able to click. That might be a development issue.
Yeah, I'm curious as to. I'll have to get some more specifics, Perry, like what page they were on, tabbing versus clicking. Mm-hmm. I know that there was a redesign of the editor. And so, and I think I said to somebody, I wish I had a cart here of books to catalog, because then I would be able to get more familiar with it without having to manufacture situations. But Yeah, my expectation is that after the holiday, starting next week, I'm going to start to do some GoToMeeting sessions on the web client and get some feedback from folks, and also introduce different aspects of the web client. I put some video tutorials out there that other consortia had put together, and I know that some people have been watching them, but I think it also helps to just have that interaction within our own system, to work through different aspects and get some feedback. So Marcia's asking if it's okay to catalog on the web version. Marcia, yes, it is. It is slightly different. The look and feel, it has the combination volume and item editor, which was actually a feature that was available in the desktop client, but I think EOU was the only one that used it. But now in the web client, that's just the default. I think if you're going to catalog on the web version, it would be helpful to watch those videos that I sent out on the cataloging portion of the web client. But we will also be doing our own GoToMeeting sessions on cataloging as well.
Okay.
Well, I guess I would just encourage folks to continue to report things as they come across them, so that we can work through issues.
The only other thing I found has been fixed as of at least this morning. So the copyright symbols and stuff. So.
Beth, did you ever post that network diagram onto the Sage website? We discussed that a while back.
I don't think I did, Perry. Was this the network diagram that showed how the servers interact? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, just a diagram of the Sage system and the age of the servers, if we had that information.
Okay. Okay, I will put that together. Trying to think of a good place for that to land on the website, but I'll take a look and see. It might just go under general information about Sage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about or ask about or suggest for next time? No. Well, shall we adjourn the meeting for today then?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We need a motion and a second. Right.
I think you can just call it adjourned.
All right. We'll just call it adjourned then.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, have a happy Thanksgiving or whatever you're going to be doing with this week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
See you all in a couple months.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.